Okay, well, looks like it's just going to be the two of us. Let's get started. So, today we're going to talk about conceptual composition. First of all, let me clarify what these streams are all about. So, I teach IRL, I teach at an animation school, and I'm trying to take what I do in the classroom and bring it to the internet the best I can. So, I've made some YouTube videos, but it's not really as aligned with how I want to teach. I like much more like an interactive live experience than just a polished presentation. I think it's much more in line with how we learn in the classroom and how people actually learn. So this is the closest thing I can do in like a one-off kind of setting. I would do other stuff. It's a little bit different than what I do in the classroom, just because these have to be one-off, so that if you've never seen any of my work before, you'll still understand. Versus a class where they build week to week. So today we're going to talk about conceptual composition. And what I mean by that is how you organize your ideas so that they make sense to the viewer. Because to me, art is really all about communication. So if you want to make sure that what you're saying is clear. Like it's like when you're writing an essay or if you're writing a story or something, you want to make sure that the important parts are the takeaways that the reader gets from reading your work, and they don't get distracted by other details, or they get don't get confused because you're making too many points and they don't understand how they all relate to each other. Um, Ideally, or at least the way I teach it, that's what you want to do in your art as well. You have something you're trying to say, and you want to make sure that that's as clear as possible to the viewer. And that's what we're going to discuss today. And as well as how you can take real world information to make your ideas more clear. So I'll start by throwing it out to you guys. You can answer on the mic or you can type in the chat. What challenges might you face trying to make your message clear in your art?
Hello.
Hello. I guess if you just came in, I'm pausing because I asked a question. What challenges might you face making the ideas that you want to communicate in your art clear to the viewer?
Hmm.
Wrong perspective? Yeah, I think that's not like you could get away with wrong perspective, um, but it could also muddy the message for sure. Anybody else? Also, just a bit of housekeeping for these. In a real classroom, I can like see your faces. I can see your hand if you're gonna talk. There's like a we have subtle social signals to let people know when it's someone else's time to speak that we don't get online. So if you have something to say, just feel free to interrupt me. I am totally okay with that. In fact, I want you to, because I don't want this to just be me talking the entire time. I want these to be interactive, like we would be in a real classroom. Unreadable space in general. Yeah, if you want to communicate three-dimensional space and it doesn't read clearly, then that would muddy your message. I think that kind of fits into a larger umbrella of technique, where if your technique is unclear, then your message will be muddied just because of it being harder to read your ideas. Like back to the writing parallel. If you don't really know how to write in the language you're trying to write, you don't understand grammar, and like you probably we're on the internet, you've read posts like this where it's like just a huge string of words, there's no punctuation, and it's just really it's work to understand what they're trying to say. That would be the equivalent of poor perspective, if that's important, or poor line quality, or just poor technical skills that will make your message harder to read. Um, and those are all really important, and I definitely want to teach those, but that's outside of the range the scope of this lecture. So today I want to focus on making your ideas clear. So think of this again. I'm going to keep going back to um, the example of an essay. So in an essay, you have uh, your main idea. Like if there's one idea you want somebody to take away from this, this is it. This is what they need to understand. But ideas on their own are hard to understand. They need to be built from other ideas. This is especially true in drawing. So the main idea needs to have supporting ideas. And then usually, though not always, each of those supporting ideas have their own supporting ideas as well. And you work your way down the chain until eventually you get to the very physical things that you're trying to describe. So like forms, light, that kind of thing. So that idea is supported by form, by light and shadow, the things you could actually touch. And those are ideas as well, because we're not physically building things in art. We're representing them. We're describing those ideas. And then those ideas we would describe with visual elements. So you could describe form with shape. You could describe light and shadow with value. This is where we get to the actual marks on the page. So if you structure this compositional chain well, then your shape supports the idea of form, which supports the supporting idea, and further up the chain, all the way up to the main idea. So in a very direct sense, you want every shape, every line, every value, every color, every proportion. You want them all to support the main idea. And this again ties into what we're talking about with technique. So say in this example, I have my supporting idea, but I'm not very good with form. So my form is bad. I am using line and shape poorly. So this is weak. That weakens the supporting idea, and so forth up the chain. But the technique of how to actually describe form, that's going to be for future lectures. Today we're focusing on this string of ideas. So for example, I'm going to draw a face. We all read this as a face. How do you know this is a face? Throwing this one out to you guys. So the main idea is a face. What are the supporting ideas?
It has facial features.
Yeah, it has facial features. So what are the supporting ideas for this idea? How do you know their facial features?
Like shapes?
Okay, yeah, shapes, but we're skipping a step. So mouth, so we have eyes and a mouth, and then this is where we get to the shapes. So we know these are eyes because of their shapes and because of shapes and also because of proportion. So I will add this in here too, because if I change the proportions here, doesn't really look like a face anymore. If I take these, and the context matters too, right? If I take this circle out of context and we're just looking at this, it's not an eye anymore. Now it's just a circle. So all of these ideas support the main idea. And this is a clean composition. If you have to be careful though when you're adding ideas, because if you add ideas that don't really relate to your main idea, then they distract from the main idea. So let's say I also want a net. Why? I don't know. So I'm adding a net here. This is the net, and you can tell it's a net because of lines. This is distracting from the face. So is this about the face or is this about the net? If it's about a face in a net, then that would be the main idea. And then it works. But if it's not, it's just a distraction. So let's get rid of that net. The other way that this can go wrong is if the supporting ideas are given too much attention, they can overpower the main idea. So let's say I have the face and I'm going to do like a really detailed mouth. Let's do even more detail. Do like all the teeth. Even give them a little bit of rendering. A little bit of rendering on the lips. Make sure you can see their luscious lip volume. So everything else is just shapes and proportions, but for the mouth, I have teeth, I have lips, form with line and shape, and same thing for the lips, so form, line, shape, value. It looks kind of creepy. Yeah, I agree. And the point being that the mouth here, which is supposed to be a supporting idea, has more visual weight and has more supporting ideas itself than the main idea does outside of this one supporting idea. So I've created a composition. I've created a competition in attention. Which is the main idea? Is it the mouth or is it the face? And it's distracting. So that's the general gist of what we're talking about. Let's get into some examples. But before we do, does anybody have any questions or thoughts that they want to add? Okay. So let's look at an example. I did this one a few weeks ago in the lesson as well. I like to come back to this painting. It's also because Jerome was really big on research. So, what is the idea here? What are we looking at? I'll give you guys some time to come up with this answer. But what do you think the main idea of this painting is? Oh, sorry, there was a question going back. But isn't the mouth part of the face? Absolutely. The mouth is part of the face, but it's given more weight than like everything else in the face, so it becomes the main idea. It makes it seem like a more important idea than the face that it's part of. Like the face kind of becomes a supporting idea to the mouth in that instance. Does that answer your question? And still throwing this out to the rest of you at the same time, just give people to type. What is the main idea of this painting? What do you think the artist wants you to take away from this or wants this to be about? So if the eyes were rendered the same way, it would be all right. Yeah, if the eyes had as much information, then it probably would look way less creepy. It would like the eyes, probably the structure of the face too. So it's not otherwise it would the shape of the head would kind of look just like a random circle. So you'd probably want to have the structure of the head have all that detail too. But yeah, if that were more uniform in the amount of information, then the the mouth would no longer be dominating and would not compete to be the main idea. So for this painting, eyes gravitate towards the gladiator, even though the background is all full of detail. Yeah, that's exactly what the artist would want. And there's other compositional reasons to this, but let's say that the main idea is it's not just the gladiators, but let's say it's the gladiatorial, probably spelled that wrong, but whatever. Gladiatorial combat. Are we in agreement that this is the idea? Yeah, cool. So, how do you know? How do you know that this is what this is about? What are the supporting ideas that make this make sense?
You have a crowd.
Yeah, we have a crowd.
Yeah, it's
The gladiators have weapons and armor and they're in a combat situation.
Yeah, so we've skipped some steps here, but so we have the gladiators. And we know they're gladiators because they have weapons and armor. And where are they?
like a coliseum.
Yeah, they're in the Colosseum, which I also am probably spelling wrong. Um, and that's important, right? Like, what if they were in the mall? Would it feel like it wouldn't support the idea as well? Okay. So yeah, we're getting somewhere. I would also say that we know that the gladiators are gladiators because we know they're human. So how do we know that the weapons and armor are weapons and armor? Or how do we know that the gladiators are human? We can expand on any of these.
How do we know that they're weapons and armor?
Yeah. Because keep in mind that we're not actually seeing weapons and armor. We're seeing colors and shapes on a canvas,
Right.
on a screen. So there's these colors and shapes are organized in a way that communicate ideas. Um,
It's I guess suppose it's implied through like it's relative to the rest of the image.
yeah, that's important too, but it builds up as well as going down, right? If like these could be much worse much worse in the way that, or much less clear, I should say. These could be much less clear. You'd still might read them as, so for example, let's say that the sword looked like this, like a kid drew it. You'd still
Yeah.
you'd still read it as a sword because of context, but it's not it doesn't have as much information as it does. It's not as conceptually rich as it is in the actual painting.
I
So
see.
what
So I guess
information? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, yeah, one I guess one could say like the figures the way the figures position it's implying like there's blood and he's standing like triumphant. So we associate that maybe with battle.
Yeah, I think those the blood, uh, the pose. I think those are important supporting ideas as well. I agree with that. So I'll for the weapons, or let's say the helmet. It's made out of metal. Do we agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we know? How do you know this is made of metal? Or we're talking about the armor. I guess we're talking about the weapons too. They're made out of metal. But how do you know that that's made of metal?
There's like reflective light.
Yeah, so let's say the light reflecting and its color. And so this is color and shapes that communicate that it's metal and reflecting light. Metal has it has metal texture. Exactly. And then the texture is represented by the light and shape. So this hard white shape here reads as a highlight. Same thing with this one. The darker ones read as kind of those reflected shadows that you're used to seeing in metal. So these shapes support the texture of the metal, which supports the idea that this is armor, which supports the idea this is a gladiator, which supports the gladiatorial combat. So all of these shapes tie in directly with the main idea. Like going back to my example of the terrible drawing of the sword, this kind of undermines it, doesn't it? Because it weakens. So weapon, just have like line and color, but there's like a little bit of confusion as to how these lines and colors make this weapon. And that weakens all the way up the chain as well. So let's look at another example of how to actually apply this. So let's say I want to draw a stone wall. And it's an important part of my composition. So I'll figure out the conceptual composition as I go. Where is it? So here is my first attempt. Does it look like a stone wall? Kinda? Yeah?
Partially.
Partially? Like, maybe in context, but like, it also kind of looks like corn. It's not great. So I would say my conceptual composition here is I have a stone wall and I know it's made of stones, and I'm representing those stones with lines. It's not great. There's a lot of missing information here. Can you read the form of these stones? Maybe, not really. So,
Mm.
and it's doesn't not really doing well in space. It's not good. So, I and like they're very non-specific stones. They're just like circle, circle, circle. So, this is where everybody tells you it looks like pavement. Yeah. This is where everybody tells you to look at reference, and they're right. So, where is my reference? So I went and I got some reference. One of these. Here we go. So here's my reference. I went out, I took a picture of a stone wall, and then I drew it. It looks better, but it still looks kind of flat. Would you agree? So with this is shallow referencing, where you take the reference and you just copy it. So the composition, the conceptual composition is still the same. It's actually probably even simpler. So stone wall, and I drew it with lines. That's it. Am I thinking about the individual rocks? Not really. I'm just copying the reference. And we need more volume. Yeah. So the problem with this, with shallow referencing like this, is that I'm not really thinking about the concepts. I'm just literally copying the visual elements that I see. So I have my reference and my drawing, and I'm taking the lines I see in the reference and I'm putting them into my drawing. I'm not expanding on them. I'm not modifying them. And I'm also, if I take this approach, I'm also limited to only drawing at the angle that the reference is. So we want more volume. So everybody says perspective, including me. Everyone's like, you need perspective. So I draw perspective, and then I add the rocks. So here's my stone wall. It's different than the last one. It has more depth. It's better than the first one. I don't know if it's better than the second one that I referenced. But it's still not good if I take out the perspective. Feel free to lay your opinions on here, because I'm not going to take them personal. Like I did these to illustrate problems. Do you think this really looks that much like a stone wall?
I see it.
You see it? We
But
need texture maybe?
yeah, like there's maybe a depth missing.
There's a depth missing, but it has the perspective. So to me, this kind of looks like PlayStation 1 wall. Like where you are gonna draw little cracks maybe inside the rocks. Yeah. So this is very much PlayStation 1 wall, because I took my stone wall, and now I have a little bit more idea going on. So it has a form, and depth, but then rocks, lines. So we're still not really getting into the supporting elements here. It's like I took a box and I drew some lines on it to make it look like a stone wall. Like PlayStation 1 style where you have limited polygons and just a flat drawing on top of them. So what I really want to do is what's called deep referencing. So instead of just looking at the lines that I see, I'm going to figure out the conceptual composition that actually makes this a wall. So my wall is made of stones. We've gotten to this far before, but the missing part is the ideas that support the stones. I hadn't done any of the ideas that support the stones before. Before it was just like, yeah, they're lines. But what makes the rocks actually look like rocks? So they have form and they have texture. And now if I could do lines, I could do value, texture could be the same thing, lines, value. It could be light and shadow, that kind of stuff. So with that approach, when I'm studying my references, I'm studying them more analytically. I'm not just copying the lines, I'm trying to study their forms. So some of these are from the reference, some of these are just made up that look kind of like the reference. And then I can build a wall out of those. And what do you think? It looks much more stony, yeah. So this one looks much more like a wall because I've taken the time to analyze the parts that make up the wall and then stack them together into my drawing instead of just kind of winging or kind of guessing. Maybe not guessing is not the word. When before, when I was just using lines, I wasn't really thinking about the forms those lines represent. It was just like rock, line, instead of thinking the forms, the textures, the edges, that sort of thing that you describe with lines. Uh, we can build the wall. Well, I mean, I did choose this as an example for a reason because I'm like literally building the thing out of things, which is what I'm trying to get to with this deep referencing, with conceptual composition and deep referencing. We're building ideas out of ideas. And this is where the reference comes in because when we're looking for reference, we're not looking for the exact one thing that we want to draw. We're looking for the ideas that make up our one thing, or looking for the ideas that make up our main ideas. So if we go back to Polus Verso, a lot of the reason why this painting works so well is the historical research that went into this. So, back when Jerome painted this, there was no alternative besides doing the historical research. You couldn't go Google search gladiators and just copy what you saw. He had to find the information that made up the gladiator. So the helmet, I have to go back to the title card because this is actually explained here. The helmet is a Cassis Christa. So he would actually would find the real pieces that survived from Rome. And you'd imagine they're not in good condition, or they weren't in good condition at the time that he painted this, but you can imagine what they would have looked like if they were brand new and shiny. Or the sword, right? Like, this is important to make a gladiator a gladiator. So you're not just referencing gladiator, you're referencing the specific sword, the specific shield, and you do the research to find out what these things are. Like, what if the gladiator had a katana? Does he look like a gladiator? Hey, see a square? Um, okay, I'll answer that one for you. Probably not. It would be a bit distracting, especially to anybody who knows about this kind of thing. Um, so this is what I'm getting at for referencing. When you're referencing, you're not referencing stylized gladiator. Yeah, yeah. Well, this is where you can go with this, right? Like in this case, it would look like fiction. Gladiators aren't known for having a katana. Exactly. So it would look like fiction, which is what you can do with this. You can take different ideas and combine them to make something new with by referencing. So you're not limited to what you can find reference of for something to be realistic. You can reference different parts and then recombine them to do a new whole. Like if you wanted to give the gladiator a katana, maybe you want to do other stuff too. Like a different kind of gladiator. Like if you wanted to do a gladiator in feudal Japan, they would look different. It would have different materials, different different style. Or if you wanted to do some kind of post-apocalyptic gladiator, maybe you take the what you know about how gladiator armor actually is and you make it out of different materials. So you would reference like maybe the shield is made out of a street sign or something, then you reference the street sign. Or like the blade is a box cutter, you reference box cutters and you figure that stuff out and then you recombine that into something new. So these are some examples from ArtStation that I've collected over the years. I apologize to the original artist. I don't remember where this was, but these are like work in progress stuff they posted where you can see the idea, the concept art, and then you can see. So there's an altar made of bones. So they reference an altar, they reference the bones, and they recombine all of this stuff. The ruined church. These I don't know what these are called, but these are to stop troop movement. So maybe there's some of these in. Oh, that's here. Broken walls referencing pews. So you're taking a bunch of different ideas and you're recombining them to make a new concept. Similar thing here, where you have this concept art and you don't have like there's an antenna behind these old I think Roman fortifications or maybe medieval fortifications. So you wouldn't have to draw this. You don't have to reference a medieval fortification that has a radio tower. You reference radio towers and you reference the fortifications and then you combine them. And you'll also notice this is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I wasn't there when they made this. I don't, but you'll notice that the radio tower is at a different angle from the radio tower in the reference, and there's different forms. So whoever did this probably didn't just look at one photo of a radio tower. They figured out the conceptual composition of the radio tower, its frame, the pole, the different radio parts. I don't know anything about radio towers, but if I was going to draw one, this is the information I would learn. I would research, not just visually, not just looking at pictures, but I'd actually figure out what these parts are so that when I'm drawing them, I make sure that I'm making a radio tower that makes sense. So just to back up, this isn't something you have to do. There's lots of art that's made like pretty wholesale fiction where it's just kind of loose ideas. You don't need to ground everything in like a real thing. But being able to do this gives you like a larger toolbox. It's a tool that you can use to construct your characters, your settings out of realistic ideas and make them believable. So that was a lot of talking by me. That's mostly what I want to say. Does anybody have any questions or any thoughts to add? I really struggle with this, so I'm glad we're having that lecture. You're welcome. I'm glad I can help. Okay. Um, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see if we can do like a demo in real time. Um, do you study objects separately or in a group? I think it really depends on what I'm trying to do and how important it is that they're grouped together. Oh, actually, I do have one more example of doing this myself. How can we go from cubes to texture? Is texture also 3D? That would be like a whole nother lecture of how to go through from cubes to texture. Um, I think you were. I don't know if you were at the last one I did where I did went from cubes to a skull. That might help, but yeah, texture would be like a whole nother lecture. Um, because like I'm not going from cubes. I'm studying the real thing and the forms and the textures they're made out of. This is like with these kind of lectures because they're one-offs. I have to assume a certain amount of base knowledge as well, like the ability to render form, the ability to render texture, either both from your head and from life. I will do lectures on those things in the future, but for now, yeah, I saw the skull video, also very helpful. Thank you. Um, yeah, I mean that's a bit more intermediate. So where is my example? Here we go. So this is a raptor design that I did, and I've actually since done different stuff with it, but um, this is an example of me combining ideas to create this because I can't reference an actual raptor. I could reference other artists' drawings of raptors, but if I wanted to do my own thing, I have to, and I mean, I did reference other artists' ones of raptors, but if I want to do my own thing, I have to create it conceptually. So my raptor, it has a skull, and I studied from a model raptor skull to get a sense of its forms. It has muscles. I found diagrams. Oops. I found diagrams online of like dinosaur anatomy, which I'm assuming they made based on extant animals and then extrapolating. So there's, um, I don't know if I did that music. Ah, damn it! I added this music bot this week and I don't know how to use it. Sorry about this. Okay. Um, that's probably confusing for people on YouTube because they aren't hearing the music. That was in Discord. Okay, where was I? So yeah, there's a jaw muscle that goes on the inside, and then there's a jaw muscle that goes on the outside, and then there's muscles that hold the eye in place, little muscle of other jaw muscles. There's not a lot of muscles on the head. Um, and then I need the surface texture, right? Because it has skin, it has scales, it has feathers. At least the version I wanted to draw has those things. So I needed to study that information. So I would research and do studies on what do actual scaly animals look like? What do actual feathers look like? So I researched crocodilians. So did some scale studies, did some feather studies on birds. like how do their eyes work, that kind of thing, because that soft tissue is not in the bone. Like the lid, there's the little area next to the lid. I don't didn't actually learn what the stuff is called. Um, but the idea is that I'm reconstructing this from different, or I shouldn't say reconstructing. I am constructing this from different sources of information instead of having to find a reference, which would be impossible because they're extinct. Um, so I don't know if we'll have time for a demo. Um, Before I wrap, what I want to do is talk a little bit about the structure of these lectures versus the structure of a course. And I guess I should also plug that all of the information that I'm talking about here is available in my book, which is on my website. If you're on Discord, it's in the official resources channel. If you're on YouTube, um, you can probably maybe I'll paste it in the description of something, but you can if you go to my like YouTube profile channel or whatever it is. Um, I'm not a tech savvy person, but if you go to that, there's links in there that'll take you to the website where you can download the book. Um, so this is these lectures. This is a lecture that I do in my drawing fundamentals course in animation school, or like a similar version of that I can do as a one-off. What I actually do in that class is it's 3 hours, so we have more time. I have the students draw. They do an in class assignment where they draw a bicycle first with no reference. Like people, you think you know what a bicycle looks like, and then you try to draw one without reference, and it's like, oh, do I actually know what a bicycle looks like? Then I let them have one photo, and their drawings get better. Then I do a little lecture where I explain the various parts of a bicycle and then let them recombine them to make a new kind of bicycle. So you can take there's different kinds of frames, different kinds of brakes, different kinds of drivetrains, different kinds of handlebars, and you can combine them to make a new bike. It's like you could if you went to a bike shop and just started welding shit together. You can do that drawing wise. And then this would be part of the theory to an assignment. In the case of my class, it's a background design assignment, but you could do this with characters just as well. So the assignment is to collect reference, to apply it to a design, and then you'd come back in the next class and you get feedback on it. Because I can't do these are one-offs. I don't know who's going to show up for these. I can't do feedback from a previous class, so I can't do the full teaching cycle. I do have a course coming out on February 2nd that will be as best I can do of an at-home version of this. So it gives you the theory like I do in this lecture. It gives you exercises to work on, and it gives you a project to work on so that you are applying the theory to something. You won't be able to like come to class every week and get feedback on it because it's free. You can post on my Discord. There'll be a section for the course, and then you can get community feedback, and hopefully I have enough time to give you feedback as well. No promises. So that's the course schedule that's coming up, and that's how I want to take the teaching I do in the classroom and bring it to the internet as best I can in the free version. And then hopefully, if there's enough interest, I can do paid courses. So, or like paid group courses. So it would be the same flow of a real course. There's theory, there's projects, there's feedback. You come every week, you get the theory to build towards being able to do this project that builds your skills. Haven't actually figured out the logistics of that. I don't think I have enough people uh, to have that interest, but I, if people let me know that they're interested, then I can start putting the logistics together to figure out how to get a group together that meets at regular times so we can make that work. Um, that's going to be it for this lecture. Um, before I wrap, um, very interested. Great. Uh, that's good to know. I'm going to figure out the logistics of how this works. You're on my Discord, so you know how to reach me. Um, yeah, before I wrap, thank you very much for coming to my lecture. These would not be very much fun if other people weren't here. I probably wouldn't do them. Um, and before I wrap, you're welcome, Mark. Before I wrap, I want to throw this one out to you guys. How like an online class would be great. Yeah. How Thank you very much. Your classes are very helpful. You're welcome. Um, I'll throw this one out to you guys. How do you think you would use this? Or before that, any questions about this whole thing? I think I've asked that like 3 or 4 times. Any questions, or how would you use this in your actual work? How would you apply this to what you want to do? And this would this isn't just for you watching the video live. If you're watching this on recording, thank you again. And let me know in the comments what you could actually do, or ask a question. I'll try to get back to you if I notice it. So you can apply the same principle with characters. Absolutely. That's what the gladiator was. It was a character who is built from ideas that make up the character. For example, if you want to create a cute or a mean character, that's a so those are emotions, and how to make designs read as emotional versus believable would be a different that would be a different topic. Um, like if you wanted to make a character cute, you would reference cute things, but cute isn't like a specific thing. It's more of a feeling you get by looking at certain things. Like if you wanted to make the character look like a baby animal, you could reference baby animals and break down the aspects of baby animals that you like and incorporate that. But cute or mean are they're more abstract than um, the like very literal referencing that I'm talking about today. But that is something that I should keep in mind for a future lecture. Helps to articulate the form, maybe. Um, oh, like to articulate the form of what you're trying to draw by referencing the forms. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, referencing 3D objects whenever possible. That's something I always try to do. Sketchfab.com is fantastic for 3D models. The raptor, like I have an actual model of a raptor skull. Um, Actually, I have a couple of them, but for dinosaurs that I don't have, I go to Sketchfab to look at their skulls in 3D. For anatomy, I used a 3D app called Anatomy for the Artist by Catfish Studios, I believe is what it's called, to like look at every bone individually. Because yeah, anatomy is deep referencing that you you study the parts of the figure and you study the figure as a whole, and then you combine them. You're combining them in a very specific way. It's usually less creative, but you could do it creatively as well if you wanted to create characters that are not strictly human proportioned. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you very much for coming. And if you're watching this recorded, thank you for watching. I do these every week, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.